Hi guys, welcome back to Hear Me Out. I am your beautiful host Shamiso, and today we are going to be having a conversation with Ashley. We already started having a conversation before we even got an introduction, and we needed to get ourselves together because we don't want you guys to to miss out. So he's good. He already told me he's good. I'm good. We're good. Let's just get into the conversation. So Ashley, hello. So basically before we were getting carried away in the moment, we were basically talking about how sharing about our stories or about what we've been through, and about how for certain things God's been showing him that it's time for him to share what he needs to share, what's on his heart, and all of these things, and how things are shifting, things are changing. We love to see it. So what type of shifts do you feel like it's time? What do you want to tell us about what's going on with you that you feel like it's time for you to talk about this? Let's just get into it.
Get into it. Thank you so much, Shami. So I have to say, to the audience, I'm really glad to be here, to have the opportunity to share. And yeah, we were already into this, so I have to kind of check back and
let's
check back a little bit.
rewind.
So I've just been going through an exciting journey, but also a very challenging journey. And I've been going through that journey mainly by myself, and it's time for me to, or I feel rather, I believe this is God's voice saying it's time to share. It's time for you to, go out there and talk about what's been going on, and what's been the story, what's been the journey, and what have been the challenges, and how have they been overcome, and what are also the current challenges that are being faced, and how, and hopefully through these conversations I can also find answers to some of those questions, and solutions to some of the challenges. So to just take it back, I'll introduce myself. My name is Ashley Mupfawa, and I I would like to introduce myself in a different way this time, without really only pointing out at the professional things that I do, but to actually talk about who I actually am.
Better.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yes.
It's
Because
not.
this
It's
this
it's
this
not
called
about
an elevator
you.
pitch.
It's about who you are.
Yes,
It's
yes.
not about what you do, guys. It's
What
about
you do
tell us.
exactly,
Lord,
exactly.
lead us in this. Father God, lead us in this. You
Yes, do your
better
thing.
tell them. You better. It's not about what you do. If the
It is
job
about
goes, if the
mm,
people go, who will you be at the end
exactly
of the
at
day?
the end of it all. Yes, who will you be? And I
Today is
like
a
that the way
Sunday
you
and
frame
we
that.
are at church. Amen.
We're preaching.
Continue. Continue.
So yeah, I think Ashley Mupfawa at the core of it all is a creative. I think that's the best way to define who I am. Um, why I define myself as this is because of the fact that I have actually not been able to kind of figure out what I actually do because I do a lot of things, you see.
Mm-hmm.
And I always go back to when I was younger and I would be asked, what is it that I wanted to be when I grew up? I always had a different answer for that
Yeah.
question. So
Yeah.
I am a creative, and within the spaces I get, what actually helps me thrive in those spaces is the creativity. So whether it's problem solving, it's the creative way that I solve the problem that I,
Yeah.
or if it's a task that I've been given to complete, it's the creative way that I complete that task. So I think to define myself, I would say actually at the core of it is a creative,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time I thrive to be a good person. So I
Yes.
am not 100%. Some people have got a version of the story where I'm the villain, and then
Mm-hmm.
other people have got a version of the story where I'm the hero. So I thrive in everything that I do. I thrive to be a good person. I'm not always a good person, but I do thrive to be a good person. And I think that's a big element of who I am and what I actually want to identify with. And I think most importantly, I'm a child of God. And yeah, I'm also not where I want to be spiritually,
Yeah.
but I always strive to be the kind of son that God wants me to be. So I think in a nutshell, that's who I am before we actually get into what I do.
The kids, children of the Lord, because God does love you. Did you hear that? It's not about what you do, it's about who you become. I've been doing like becoming episodes, all of these things, blah blah blah, because I have realized that in my pursuit of purpose of what I'm supposed to be doing on this earth, sometimes I would lose sight of who I am becoming in the moment. And I feel like it's very important that you guys understand that as you are building, as you are becoming a person, as you're becoming better, make sure you are becoming something first before you build something. Because when you know who you're trying to become, when you build that thing, it'll be much easier to handle. Because when you're building something, let me tell you something, warfare is gonna come at you. The devil does not know no sleep. Okay, he will
My
fight
friend,
you. Hey, hey.
the trials and tribulations.
You will be pruned by God, but also the devil wants you to get out of that pruning like period, so because it's tiring, it's exhausting,
Mhm.
and all of those things, and you need to constantly remind yourself like who you are becoming. And I love how that's what you are. That's what you started this with. It kind of is aligned with what I've been doing with my posts, like where I post about what I'm learning and all of these things, instead of like kind of seeing the intended outcome, because it takes a long time for us to get to our vision and our goal for ourselves. And I think one thing that you mentioned that I feel like I've also been going through was that you were doing all of this stuff alone. So what did you learn in that process when you were alone dealing with those things, like only the things that you and God only like knew? Kuti ish, this part of this character, this thing in your character, it's not a like we need to take it away. Like what did you learn about yourself in that process?
I think the biggest thing has been, thank you for the question. Actually, I always try to be
Okay.
humble and and be thankful and be grateful for the opportunity. So what has really been a highlight for me through the process has been the fact that you're not always going to make it on the first try. And you not making it on the first try doesn't necessarily mean that that which you're trying to achieve is not going to be achieved. You
Mhm.
know, and just learning to take failure as a stepping stone as opposed to it being the end of the road.
Yeah.
I think that's for that for me has been the highlight.
I think that is so true. I think for me, when I fail, I'm very hard on myself, and I've just been learning to give myself
Mhm.
grace, because sometimes it's just like you're not always gonna get it right. Like even with university, I think for me, there's certain things I haven't gotten right. I did something wrong in my coursework, and I have to like redo certain things. So
Oh,
it's not
oh.
like it's like so when you look at that, it's not like it's just a mistake. You made a mistake, and you can look back and be like, okay, how can I be better? But as humans, sometimes when we fail, we think, oh my gosh, it's over. But it's
The
like,
end of it.
no,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
but it's like what you said, it's a stepping stone. And I think that's just good. That's so true,
Mm.
that like failure is not the end of the world, and you can keep building and you can keep growing even when you mess up, because we're always going to mess up. Like we're not perfect. And I think one thing for me, I have been learning in my alone time in isolation with God, is that like I'm not perfect. Like I am not perfect. Like I don't have anything figured out. Like
You never
honestly,
will, hey, honestly.
yeah, dude, do y'all know there's another variant in the southern hemisphere of Africa, and everything is being canceled for people. And it's like,
Mm,
yo, how are
mm.
you supposed to have things together when life just every single day it's something after something after something? And I think it's realizing that if I don't have it figured
Exactly.
out and I'm honest, so you can also be like, Shami, you too. What? You're doing all of this thing at these things and you don't have anything figured out. Fam, I don't even know who's gonna be my next guest in the next 3 weeks. That's how I don't have anything figured out right now.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I think it's just important, like for me to just be authentic to my real self, because like in reality, sometimes I genuinely get so irritated at people. Like I know y'all be seeing me all jumpy and being, oh my gosh, but like really sometimes I honestly am just like, can people just shh,
So yeah, yeah.
you
I know
know,
what you mean.
like,
I know what you mean, because there's a lot of voices you see. Um, just going back to the fact that we are living in an attention economy, and
mm-hmm,
there is so much information being put out that you have to, filter through, and sometimes you just want all the noise to just be quieted,
yeah,
because you already going through a lot, and there's already a lot of voices within your own head that you
mm-hmm,
have to listen to or ignore or deal
mm-hmm,
with.
yeah,
Now imagine if you're already having that much internally, and then also there's all these external voices. There's the
yeah,
news, there is social media, there is family, there is friends, there is relationships, there
mm-hmm,
is, other congregations you're part of, there's church, there's all of these places are bringing information to you. And how do you actually filter through and see what's most important? What do I need to be paying attention to? What do I need to be ignoring? It's so overwhelming, and it's heavy. It becomes really heavy. But at the end of the day, if you still remember to go back to God and say, God,
mm-hmm,
look, this is heavy on me.
yeah,
Help me. What do I need to do? How do I find the way? I think it always helps to go back to God and say, Papa, things are difficult. I'm
yeah,
having so much coming in.
yeah,
Help me filter what's right for me. Help me find, better ways of letting go of what's not for me. Because also, I think sometimes the mistake that we make is that when we say, okay, we need to filter things out, we do it in abrupt ways that destroy relationships.
mm-hmm,
And we need to remember that relationships with other people are still equally important. It's just
yeah,
about how to inform those people that you're just in a different place. You're okay, you're in a different place. You hear them, but you just can't give them that attention at this present
mm-hmm,
moment. I think communicating that in a good way, it helps those people actually even support you. So yeah, the cancel culture of whether it's canceling other people or canceling, as we always like to say, when people are negative in our lives, and we like to use the word toxic,
yeah,
toxic relationships, toxic people, and all of that. I think it's in the ways that we do that, and not breaking hearts in the name of saying that, oh no, we are listening to the voice, and we are filtering because this is what God is telling us. Sometimes we use that just as an excuse to actually be unkind. So I think, yeah, it's about filtering and figuring out what God really wants you to focus on, or what He is saying to you, or what the inner voices that are positive are saying to you, and the ones that are negative, to silence them. But also, when you silence other people's voices in your life, just do it with care and kindness.
mm-hmm. I
Mm.
think I was on a call with one of my friends, and she was just because I was just like, oh, I'm coming to the end of uni and all that stuff. And like I called her to just check up on her and all these things. And she's like, Shami, like right now, girl, like I don't have time. Like it was nice seeing you. But like we talked for a good couple of minutes. We had a laugh and all that. We had fun and blah blah blah. But then she was just like, life has been lifing. But in 2 weeks, I shall be back. And I used to get like upset when people would do that. But then I think for me, like I even realized it for myself because I just went on a whole like detox on my Instagram, on my YouTube, on WhatsApp. I was just like, I need to just not follow so many. It's not like I'm following a lot of people on Instagram. I'm following like 100 and something. But at the time, I was following 200, and I was like, this is too many. I'm seeing too many stories. When I wake up, I go to my phone, I go on Instagram. Like, I don't go to my Bible app first, I go to Instagram first. So if I don't have a lot of things to watch, I'll go to my Bible and read it, or like even on YouTube because I had so many things that were just so I was subscribed to so many churches. I don't understand why. And I was like, which ones do you actually watch? And let's focus on that. Like a less is more type of thing. Even with people that I'm around with, like friends, relationships, I was just like, you know what? Like this is happening right now. And just be aware of it. And I'll be here all the way, but like I'm not going to shut you out just because you're going through the motions of something. Like with a lot of my friends, like we're all just going through the motions. The last 2 years we've all been going through the motions. And I think one thing we really do need, the reason why people are on this earth is community. We need to have friendships, whether it's a call or seeing each other. We need to have relationships. That's why God created community, so that when we are struggling, we can go to someone and be like, yo, this week was rough. Like, it genuinely was rough. Because when you end up like, there's a difference between God ordained isolation and you isolating yourself. Like, I feel like for me, the God ordained isolation was just like, people in my life went to university, different time zones. When they're asleep, I'm awake. When they're awake, I'm asleep. Certain people I would rely on constantly, they started to like do their own things in their lives. And then I was only left with God and a couple of people. And I think with those things, it was like, okay, God, okay, cool, cool, fair, fine. And now, like what you were saying, like it's time for us to like share what we've been going through, like as we've been getting refined by fire, like this season of our lives. Like I'm now getting open to like more people in different communities, like in the YouTube community, or just like talking to other people that I don't know, or just doing things where I'm connected to other people. So I think for you, like what you just said is so true. Like we shouldn't just be like cancel culture, because God never cancels you. So I don't know who gave you the authority to cancel everyone else. I don't, because you have your mistakes, you mess up. It's just that these people
Exactly.
are on public
Exactly.
view, and and
Hmm.
no one gets to see like your mess, your stuff, your insecurities, your fears. And then when someone like is, let's say for us right now, if someone just bashes us all of a sudden, Shami, the way your shirt looks, it's like inappropriate to the zebras or something. I don't know, I'm just making something up. And you
Yes,
start
yes,
like
yes.
saying cancel Shami because of a shirt. And then meanwhile, you're being mean to someone else. Like it does, and like no
In
one.
the actual process of
Yeah,
canceling someone, you're actually
yeah,
being mean.
yeah. So it's kind of like we lack a lot of like godliness. Like we lack a lot of yeah, like it's just a result of sin in this world. So it just means y'all need to go to Jesus. Like don't be looking at us for like to save you. We can't. We can give you perspective, but we can't
Hmm.
heal your
Hmm.
wounds. We can't make you like feel less alone. Like we can't, like that emptiness in you, we can't help with that. Try Jesus, don't try us, because we
Yeah,
we get
absolutely.
tired.
And he will answer. He
we
will
he
answer.
will
And
answer
he
you.
will always be there. We can't
Yeah,
always be
we
there.
can't always be there because we all going through life, guys. But then in this
We're
we
also
can
going
share.
through the most as well. Yeah.
Yeah, like oof, we be going through them. Can I ask you
Mm,
what has
it's
been the
true.
most for you? Like what have you, because we keep saying we be going through the most. What does that mean? What does most mean for you? And I'll share what most means for you. So for me, but what does that mean like to you? Like what's been going on that's like, ish Lord, I'm tired.
All right. So I think now we are really getting into the gist of what I do by that, but just responding to
Mhm.
that question. So I think I'll take you back to um, I think high school. Yeah.
Mhm.
So I'm doing my A levels, and I don't think I was ever like the brightest. I was always an average student. But I attribute that to actually also not believing that I was intelligent, just the environment kind of molded me to believe that I wasn't intelligent, and that there was no point in me studying because ultimately I was just gonna fail, right?
Mhm.
So I went through my high, just basically my schooling years without that belief of, oh, I'm actually good at this. But what would happen is I would always pass enough to just get to the next level, just barely
Yeah.
enough to go to
Yeah.
the next level. But it wasn't until I was doing my O levels that it kind of changed because I didn't study a day. And yet I came out with enough, passes to move on to A level. So that kind of started changing my mindset. And during my A levels, I think I really believed that I was, I was intelligent and I was putting in the effort. But funny enough, I didn't actually pass with enough to proceed. Just as I began to think that, oh, I'm actually good at this. That's when actually I put in the effort and then I actually failed.
Yeah.
So for me at A level, I had 6 points, which was, I mean, in Zim, that's a fail.
Yeah.
Like everybody else is talking about like 13, 14, 15 points. You're here with six. What are you saying?
Yeah.
So that for me was was heartbreaking. And I really wanted to get into university, and it kind of challenged me because as I was applying for university, I wanted to go to the University of Cape Town or to Africa University. Those were my like my two places that I really wanted to go to. And as I'm doing the applications, the sentiments around me were just telling me, you're wasting your time, you're wasting your time, you're wasting your time. And so I was stubborn and I still applied. Um, in fact, when that happened, I'd also applied to the Midland State University.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the one that responded to me first. And it responded first in terms of putting out the the names of those that had been admitted, and my name was not in the newspaper. So that for me was like, okay, everybody else around me is actually right. So now I'm not in the newspaper. What am I going to do about this? I decided to pack my bags and go there and figure it out. So funny enough, I think that's when God kind of just took over, because that decision to tell everybody at home that I had been admitted to university when I hadn't, packed my bags and left. And when I got there, I wanted to do marketing.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to the admissions office and I was told marketing was full and there was just no way of me getting in, especially with the points that I had. So that was the moment where I'm seated there. I'm at the canteen at the Midland State University, and I'm thinking, what am I going to do? Because now I can't go back home. You know, I've already told everybody I got the place. Yeah. So I'm sitting there, and that for me going through that, for me in that moment when I look back, that was the most for me. And somebody just walked up to me while I was seated there and asked me if I was looking for a place. And I said yes. And they told me to go to room 18. So I go to room 18, I get there, I ask if there's anything I can do to get into this university. And they told me, yeah, you can do agricultural economics. It's a new program. It just got introduced. I think I was in the second stream of that program, or second or third.
Mm-hmm.
And I got in. I got in just like that. And from there, I think just that person coming to me and telling me there is a place where I would have never known. This person didn't know what I was going through in that moment. And
Mm-hmm.
for some reason, they just walked up to me and literally just answered my prayer.
Yeah.
And that for me was God helping me while I was going through the most. But then what happened, what was funny was, soon after getting into university, settled in mid-semester, I hear from the University of Cape Town and I've got a place.
You?
So, but now it's too late. I cannot now say I'm going to move universities and everything. So already I was heartbroken by that, and I just never saw myself doing uni in Zim.
Yeah.
So when I actually settled for that, that was kind of like a little bit of a disappointment. And I wanted to compensate for that. And what I then did was I started already making plans to do my internship outside of the country.
Yeah.
And what that meant for me was I left Zimbabwe for the first time, not knowing where I was going, and going through the most of that process as well. And my idea was to go to Cape Town and learn how to make wine and just be like some wine owner, or the vibe. I think
Not
it's
the
something else.
vibes.
The vibes. I think it could be something I could still do, but you know, priorities have changed and all. What actually happened there was, while I was on my way, and I was on the bus, by the way, and I'm on my way to Cape Town, and I didn't know that that trip was going to be that long. So I'm tired. I cannot anymore. For some reason, I wake up, I'm in the bus, I realize we're in a city. I'm like, I'm done, I'm going down. At least in Cape Town, I had people, family, friends that I could get to and then settle. But I just got out of the bus. I didn't even know where I was. Went to the nearest McDonald's, grabbed some bites, and that's when I actually found out I was in Pretoria, which I currently am also right now. But
Mhm.
this is like, let me just take you back and give you like a reflection of when this was. So me getting into university was 2011, and then me going for my internship was 2013.
Okay.
So and then 2014 was the actual year that I was on placement.
Okay.
Then 2015 was when I had to go back to Zim and complete. So I graduated 2015.
Okay.
And what happened there also was I wasn't going through the most of the situation because I hadn't been completely honest at home about this journey to SA, because I knew that telling my parents that I am going to go to SA and look for internship was not going to get the
Yeah.
support that I was looking for, and they just weren't going to do that. So I had again created a scenario where in until this day, for them it was, he already has internship, and I said I'm going to go and work for USAID.
Wait, sorry.
I
Do
got
they
into
know? Do they know this part?
Until this day, they don't know
Oh
this part.
Lord.
That's why I said I've been going through this by myself, and now it's time to share. So I still have to, if they watch this, then
I
they'll
hope they
know, but I
don't
still
kill
have to.
me. I thought you should kill him. I'm sorry. I didn't know this was his story, but the Lord is leading him. I can't do nothing. It's not in my hands anymore. Sorry. Oh my
it,
gosh.
it was crazy going through that. And I'm now in a city, there's no money coming, like you can't be telling a Zimbabwean family that you're going to South Africa for internship and you
Yeah.
still expect them to send you money. So there was no income coming in. I'm now in a different country. I don't know nobody. There's no network. I have to start from scratch. I don't even know how I'm going to get this internship, but I've got a few months to get it, because also if I don't get it on time, then that means I have to defer semesters. So again, in that moment, God led me, because I was going through the most in that moment and I didn't know the answers, but God did it for me.
Mm-hmm.
I went around and did the best. The one thing that I never did though was send my CVs online. I went to each and every single organization that had a connection to agriculture. And I
Yeah.
would speak to either the CEO there or the HR manager. Look, I was looking sharp. Hair done and did,
Anzi, I
you
didn't
know,
come unprepared like with my looks. My
yeah,
outfit, my suit was crisp.
Postmate suit, everything was lit, smelling Calvin Klein there. And,
Mm.
the image part of it, I really had it on lockdown. But at the same time, I was living in a room with 4 other guys at the same time, because I just couldn't afford the kind of rental that would allow me to rent my own flat. And going through that was very difficult, because people stole from me in that place. You wake up and the phone is gone. If anyone who has been in South Africa and has stayed in Sunnyside
Yeah.
in Pretoria knows what I'm talking about. Like, it's not the best place to be. And during that time, God really ferried me through, and he got me the internship. I literally got my internship. In fact, I got 2 jobs in that space, because while I was in that space with those 4 guys, and although there was a whole lot of negativity going around, I overheard them having a conversation about interviews that were going to happen at a place the next day. And I woke up at 4 before them and I left. And I went to that place they were talking about. I was probably the third or fourth person. The other thing is, I didn't know where this place was. I didn't have enough transport to even get myself there. So I had to walk there. And it was quite a distance. And I got there and I got into the interview and I got the job. Like, they just told me, come through tomorrow and, come to Manly Mall. Actually, I went to a different place and they were telling me to go to now a different mall. And by the way, just for interest sake, Manly Mall is actually the biggest mall in Africa based on the number of shops that it has, not based on the land that it
Yeah.
occupies. And so I went through that and God carried me through. And what actually then happened was, I had gone through all these places, just speaking to people and getting them information, getting their information, and I would save their numbers just to try and get that internship. But at the same time, now at least I was working at an entry level role in a restaurant. So that allowed me to have enough money to move out of that space, get my own place, pay my own bills and all of that, and even be able to send stuff home. So that was great. That opportunity was great. It really unlocked everything. And what's funny is, when we went back to the house, when I went back to the house and everybody else came back, now it was all four of us had been to the same interview, and I couldn't really share with these guys that I had been to the interview and had gotten the job, but none of them got it. God had placed them right there just for them to share
To share.
without even knowing that they were sharing, and that unlocked things for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think the lesson for me also was, even if you are facing adversity and you're in a place where you feel like, this is rock bottom, you might actually find your blessing right there.
Yeah.
And, people that will come and communicate to you, or rather communicate about where God wants you to go or what's the next move through those places. And I think to get to it to where really I am now, as I got that job as a waiter, and then I also got my internship as the personal assistant to the entire executive at Agri Aid Southern Africa. And this is the thing, where I walked into an office, this lady just listened to my story, and they had never had an intern before. They had to motivate for the first time why they needed an intern
Yeah.
and why it had to be me.
Yeah.
And that was God's grace. And I got my internship. My first day of me being at that job was my due date. If I had not gotten it by that point, I was going to have to defer a semester. But God came through during that space of going through the most, and just shone his light on me. And I was the one who got chosen. I got unmerited favor because that internship was lit. I had, it was executive level. I was in convoys with ministers. I
Mm-hmm.
was a high level, kind of communicating with top level people at USAID. It really unlocked a lot of things for me. And technologically, it allowed me to really level myself and understand a lot of things, because there was laptop, tablet, phone, internet connection, dongles and
Yeah.
all the stuff, when you work at a good company,
Mm-hmm.
and benefits and everything. And it was an amazing experience. However, God wanted me out of there because they offered me full-time employment. Told my parents, they refused. They said, you are coming back home, you are finishing your degree, and you're then gonna do whatever. And I was kind of heartbroken by that, because I really loved the place and I thought that was my dream, and I was just supposed to grow at this organization forever. But God took me out of there, and he placed me on a different journey. So, this story kind of just has God written all over it, because these are things that I could have never done just by my own might and wisdom. It had to be Him who led. It is Him who led me to the place that I am. When now, after my university time, I went on to, in fact, all the jobs that I had left, they were still waiting for me. While I was doing my internship, I still maintained my waitering job. So I had two jobs during that time,
Mm-hmm.
working through the week and also over the restaurant on weekends. Managed to get all the stuff that I needed for uni. Even going back to uni was a breeze for me because of it. And it just exposed me to a place where I could actually now start something of my own. And I went on to start Connect Southern Africa. That was post university. And I started building on that. So I would work, you know, at my waitering job, which I have maintained for years, because I went back to Zim, came back to SA, that job was still waiting for me. It took
Mm-hmm.
me through pushing my organization and building into a level where I was now in a position to apply for grants. I've received grants directly from the United Kingdom, not to the organization, but to my own name.
Yeah.
And I've received resources from places like Microsoft, Google, Canva, Sage, all of it. And God has just been mobilizing all the resources for me. God has led people to me. I've got a team now of about 15 people, that are there to work on a full-time basis. And these are volunteers that are just there to push the organization to get to the next level. And one of the things that has happened is also, when you're going through this kind of journey, you're going through the most, always. And God is always there to shine his light. So I'm going to bring it to the COVID-19 era, where everything just basically kind of died down, and everything died down. We had a schools program with a nonprofit where we were going to schools and we were training students on how to maximize the power of technology. So looking at social media and how to use it right, how to ensure that it becomes your selling tool, your deal closer. If you speak to someone, how do you make sure that when they go check you out, whatever you're trying to sell them is sold just by them going onto your social media platform? So if you're looking for a place in uni, how do you make sure you close that deal of getting the place in uni by them just checking out your social media? Or if it's a business deal, or if it's a job you're looking for. And that's what we're doing for students. And then Corona happened and schools closed. And that was just 3 months after I had left this waitering role. And I actually, within the waitering role, I had gone up to a managerial level, and I was still privileged within that space to be a manager and still waiter to make even extra income, because everyone, they understood my journey and what I was trying to achieve. And I had my own schedule. I would always give them my time a week before. So if I want to be at meetings or events for the nonprofit, I'm able to do that without being needed at work. And all of that was God enabling, bringing people that understood the journey, and it's not easy for a business owner to allow you to do all of the things that my previous business owner did in terms of helping me get to the next level. I mean, up to the point where they would even fund, whenever I come to Zim to host the Global Entrepreneurship Week, they would fund my transportation, they would support me with printing and all of these things. And God was just paving the way. So after leaving the job, that was on the 1st of January 2020, when I woke up and I was like, I'm not going back there. I'm done. That chapter is closed. Now I just really need to get to the next level. And that became a very difficult time, because 3 months in after leaving the job, COVID-19 happened. And it was just, there was just no income whatsoever coming in. At least with the schools program, would make the students pay to attend those workshops. So I got into a place again where I was not going through, and God came through for me in the sense of, when this happened, I live in a very big place, because my office is also in my place, and I stay with some of the team members that I work with. So it's a whole house. And to be able to afford that when you are no longer working was something that I knew I wasn't going to be able to. And I decided, okay, pack bags, go back to Zim immediately. And God again came through for me while I was going through the most, in the sense that when I went to so she was my landlady, but now she's just basically my mom. Because when I told her, look, by the end of the month, I'll be moving out, I'll be, putting stuff in storage and moving back to Zim. And then she's on some, but why don't you just go back to your job? You can always go back. I was like, no, that chapter for me is closed. I'm not going to go back. I would rather go back to Zim and figure this out, doing this business thing. And, to my surprise, she told me, no, you're not going anywhere. You're going to stay here. You're going to do what you need to do with your business until it works. And then you can pay the rent. And that for me was God doing something really huge, because that is the most selfless thing someone has ever really. Wow, there's a lot of selfless things that people have done for me, but for me at this stage, that was the biggest. That was really the biggest. And that allowed me to get into a different place where I had to now figure out what was the new plan, because I couldn't continue doing nonprofit work within this period of COVID-19. So I went on a new journey of learning digital marketing and launching a new business, which I had actually, the business launched last week during the Global Entrepreneurship Week that our nonprofit was hosting. So that was great. But even that was not me who decided to go for it. It was more God who led me to that, because I was stuck at home, not knowing what to do. And honestly, I was not doing anything with COVID-19. It was locked down. There was no one doing anything.
No one was doing anything.
Yeah. So it was almost like God pushed me to leave the job before COVID-19, because that was the best thing that I have ever done. Because then when COVID-19 actually happened, even rentals and all of those things, for most people during that time, landlords made losses, because people they just couldn't pay, people just couldn't pay. So God did something else for me there, where he directed me by just bringing people towards me. So one of those things that he did was bringing, I don't know if you know Mr. Hugo Ribatika, who is a news anchor on Newsroom Africa currently. Do you know him?
Mm-mm.
Maybe you're too young. He was also on the ZBC News and all of those things, and Power FM in Zim. And I had had an interview with him 12 years ago when we had started the school. I was around 18 years old that time. And I remembered him. And so I approached him and I was like, look, do you remember me? You know, you had an interview with me. He didn't remember.
Mm-hmm.
And but then what stood out for me was my social media presence. So for him, it stood out, and he was actually having a new show that was coming out. And then he asked me to influence for him by just sharing about it and posting about it. And in that moment, I was like, wait, but who is doing the digital strategy for you here? And it was like, no one. And I was like, can I do it? He was like, yes. Then I did that. So me doing that for him kind of got the word around his circles mainly, and actually not mine. And so people that he knew, that knew him, started asking him, who's doing this for you? Who's doing this for you? And then all these new clients were just coming out of nowhere.
Yeah.
So I ended up just having 5 clients, no structure, no knowledge of what I'm doing, just basically overwhelmed and not knowing what to do next.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when it dawned on me that I needed to create a new digital marketing agency. And I did. And then God has just been really carrying me through this. And now I'm in a position where, you know, I've been retaining clients. This is something I've already been doing for a year and a half.
Yeah.
And with the Global Entrepreneurship Week that we just had, and us launching it, that it also opened like a whole new stream of new clients. And God has just been really providing everything, the resources, the people. And the only challenge that I've really faced is me, getting myself to a place of self-actualization where I'm actually working at the full capacity of my creativity and my skills and my knowledge, because at this stage I'm probably working on like 30%, and I still have like a whole 70% to still figure out. And that way, I think that's how all of this, the most that I've been going through, will get to a place where I can relax and everything kind of takes care of itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, I think that's a long story, but that's the story.
No, that's why we have these conversations so that you can talk. But
Yeah.
also to your parents, please don't kill me. I'm sorry. I didn't
So
know.
no,
I didn't know he was gonna talk all the things.
so to my parents, the thing is, I've actually been going through this great thing with them. So
Mm-hmm.
they know about the university story, but I can't be telling them about all the stories at the same time. You understand?
That's true.
So so I actually recently told my dad about the university story. I
What,
haven't told him about
what did you
the
say?
internship story,
Well, now he's gonna
but the
know.
time, yeah, that is if he watches.
No,
My family
this is what you're gonna do. You're
generally,
gonna send the link. You're gonna
they
send this
don't
link.
watch. Like
No, they
I've
will.
been, look, you don't understand them. They're so not into this. Like when I have like events where I'm speaking at an international event where I'm like, they will not be. They're
They
like, my
will.
parents have just been like that. Like they're not the first, the people that do those kinds of things. They love me dearly. They support me
Of course.
in their own ways, but
Mhm.
it's just not. If I do an in-person event and I say come to an event, they'll come. But anything you want to do online, they
They'll be.
bought the computers for me to do. They're not gonna be doing it.
No, but if they do watch this, I hope. But they should be proud of you. Like you managed to like put God at the center of your life. That's any parent's dream, to be like, and to have their son like do the things even when it's hard, and to like
The
make
thing is,
it happen.
they believe in everything I do. They trust me. They trust that I'm gonna make it, but they're just not as interested in knowing the nitty gritties of it. My dad at least tries, but everybody else, they're more hands-on people. Like my brother does, he's into transport. He's a person who's always on the road and he's building his business doing that, and it's great. My other brother is a mechanic building also his business and always
Yeah.
doing hands-on things at his job. My other sister does like buying and selling things. So she's basically on the road just buying and selling things and doing all of that, you know. And my mom and dad are into like farming and stuff. So they're always, you know, away doing the stuff at their, you know, their land and all of that. So they generally, I understand them. They're just not people that are, you know, going to be like, oh, you sent a link, let's definitely check
Let's
it
watch
out.
it. They will be like,
You
why are
know,
you sending
yeah,
this?
no, they're probably going to be like, ah, that's waste of data.
Yeah.
You know, we rather not.
No, I get that. No, I get that. And I think for what you're talking about is kind of linked to the conversation I had last week with Rob. Just like how God provided for you. And I was also talking about how God provided for me with Shine Your Light. Just like a reminder to anyone, like God will provide. Like honestly, like I feel like that's why we go through some of these things so that we can encourage someone else who's like in a situation maybe not similar to yours, but they're just in a situation where they need provision. And it's knowing that God will provide and he'll do it in like small ways. Like people, literally, his roommates were having a conversation and he was listening. And he woke up at 4, 8, 3, 4, and he was like, I'm going to go to the interview. And he got it. So it's just being like close to God in a time when like in the good and the bad, but also knowing that like I think for you, even though the pandemic didn't bring, like even though you lost income, like you still managed to go into a different space of like your creativity, your business, like what you could do, how you could help people and add value to their lives, like with what you are doing. Like, and I think with even with what you're doing, like it's so timely because like the pandemic meant like everything was online. University, high school, primary school, like
Everything.
meetings, everything. So it's also like a blessing for you where it's like
Oh, yeah, it's
anything
good.
digital, like everyone needs something digital now. Like, so I think it's
Everyone,
like
everyone.
everyone needs, like, don't tell me you don't, like something that you use is digitalized in your life. And yeah, just wait. So are you in South Africa, right? You're in South Africa, not in Zim.
Yeah, yeah.
You're in South.
I'm in
Oh, okay,
Victoria.
okay, okay. Um, no, but I think that's just amazing, like how everything happened and how like where you are now and how you like. I'm glad you got the opportunity to talk about your story, here and to be
Yeah.
able to like release all of that and like give someone encouragement about like no matter what, like God will provide. Like, no matter what, like yo, that was a lot of no matter what's in your life. Like,
It was like, man, like God literally, and you know, as God does this, He always gives you the highlights of what it might look like in the future.
yeah,
And you know, sometimes those highlights and do not look exactly like how you envision it or how you want to see it, you know, come to fruition. But it's like He gives you small hints, you know. He gives you a big win there, and then it's a lot of trying and trying and trying, and then it gives you another big win there,
yeah,
just to kind of show you, give you a sneak peek into, you need to grow to become the person who can, you know, attract and keep an opportunity. Because it's one thing attracting opportunities, it's a completely different program to maintain and keep and grow within those opportunities. In fact, sometimes um, too much of it can actually inhibit you from going forward. So God does it in ways that allow you to face the challenges that are going to enable you to build the strength and the knowledge and the skills and the people, you know, build the networks that are going to allow you to then effectively and efficiently carry that gift and take it to the next level. And even, you know, you passing and leaving that legacy that's still going to inspire others even after you're gone, you know.
yeah.
So I think this is exactly what God has been doing. There's a lot of highlights that have happened for me as I've been going through the challenges. Like, He has taken me to national televisions in different countries. He has taken me to, you know, places where I've traveled because my presence there has been required, where I didn't actively go out of my way to even attract those opportunities. My LinkedIn is if I were to do screenshots of my LinkedIn inbox, you would see the power of God. I don't even market for my business yet.
Yeah.
I've not marketed. People just literally just come into my inbox and ask for services
Yeah.
and they pay. And it's like, where did that come from? You know? And it's just God showing you his power and giving you highlights of, okay, these are small clients. So currently I serve low value clients because these are small business owners. They're still going through a lot, you know, and it comes with a lot of challenges because their businesses might not be going well. And when that happens, it also means that it's going to affect your businesses, or, you know, it will affect my business. And that's been, you know, the circle of it is, I've really been going through that, where it's like some months are good, some months are bad, some months are good, some months are bad. And God keeps on showing me highlights of, go through this because it's teaching you something. But the bigger clients, the high value clients are coming. And as a testimony, just a day before yesterday, I received an email from a really big organization. I mean, they have managed to even raise up to 6 million rand. It's not actually US dollars, yeah, 6 million rand in just investment. And they approached me to say, hi, could you please produce content for us? Can we do some trial something? So I'm in the process of actually doing some trial stuff for them to see if we align. And I'm like, whether this goes through or not, God has already communicated with me. God has already shown me, you know, because I was shook up. I was like, this opportunity is too big for me. I'm not yet there. Like,
yeah. No, but no, don't say that. You are there. God is like, it
no,
is time for you.
No, I am being really honest with myself. I'm being honest with myself. I'm not yet there. You know what will happen here is, I'm gonna rise up to the occasion, but I'm not yet there. And that's being brutally honest with myself. My systems are not yet well streamlined. I'm still testing and trying. I mean, this business has only been around for like 1.5 years, and I have been the person who is doing everything: the finance, the HR, the IT, I'm everything. And wow, now God has been bringing people now within this business. There's 5 people that are working on, but all they've got other commitments, you see.
Yeah.
So they're not always there. I do have one person who's committed to the full, and it's also God that sent that person to me, because it was such a funny way of me meeting them. And the next thing, we're staying together and we're building this business. And they are so good at what they do, whether it's writing a blog or putting together a graphics design or putting together a video together. So God is beginning to bring people around to kind of lessen the burden on me so that I can work on the business and not in the business, because he's bringing people that work within the business now. And so when I say that I'm not yet there, it really comes from a place of capacity. I know for a fact that, you know, capacity is not yet there. And also systems are things that I'm still trying to find the most optimum system. So there's rapid change within the process. And I still have to communicate that with the 5 people that are working on this on a regular basis. And just that alone is very overwhelming. And then I still have to communicate with clients, and I still have to make each and every single client happy. So when I say that I am not yet there, I mean, in this moment, just like how God is bringing those people, he's going to provide the tools and the extra hands and the wisdom and the technology to be able to take that and still produce a great result out of it, even though it's challenging. So it's really just being honest. And I think that's one thing that we, as, because I consider you a business owner as well, is to be honest with ourselves. And as much as we speak faith, that faith must be, it must be, you know, it must follow the, it must follow the smart, what's that, smart something, smart objective setting,
Specifically,
where, you know, the
achievable, realistic time.
you
Don't
see,
worry, I'm also doing business, so I know what you're talking about.
you see, oh, you are there, you are there. So yeah, I think it's also about really being honest with ourselves as business owners, because what happens is there could be a mismatch where, and this is something I thrive to say, if you go onto my website and you read something there, I want that experience to match what happens in real life when you connect with me and you buy from me and I service. I wanted to actually exceed your expectations. And this is something that God has really been doing, even without me realizing it. Sometimes I actually realize, oh, we did way above our expectations when I barely tried,
Yeah.
and then the client is coming back and is saying, this is
This
beyond
is
what I was expecting. And
amazing. Yeah.
and that is how I believe, even with new opportunities and future opportunities, God is going to carry us through, where we feel like, that was not the best that we could do. But at the
Yeah.
end of the day, when someone sees it, they're like, oh my
This was
word,
amazing.
where are you people from?
Yeah.
So that's, yeah, that I think, yeah, and that's just something that I commend every other person who's doing whatever, whether it's business or you're in the creative space or you are a sportsman or whatever you are putting out there, let it match or exceed the messaging that you are putting out there. So if you
Yeah.
say to someone it's going to be on time every time, which is my tagline, I want it to actually be before the deadline.
Before the like three, five
And
days before.
yes, and I don't always get it, but at least, if I'm targeting to reach the sky, if I then fall from there, I will hit on the clouds and not
Mm.
literally just go through someone else's roof.
Yeah, that's so true. But I think like even with what you're saying, like for Shania, like I can say like for me design wise, like I've just been trying to figure it out, and I realized that I have someone who's helping me out, and I was like, why am I trying to think all of these things? Like I had to get quiet and be like, okay, God, what do I have? Because sometimes, I think Pastor Mike Todd said this. He was like, all you have is all you need, right? Like God will use what you have in your hands, right? So I think like with Moses, how he used his stick. What is it called? Yeah, his stick. His
Rod was it?
yeah,
Yeah.
rod. Yeah, yes. Like he just used what was in his hands. So I think like even with you, like use what God has given you. Like maybe there are people in your life that that do a lot of things, like maybe you don't even need to like God has already given you everything you need. So I
Yeah.
think it's also understanding that even with me, like I was freaking out because like design wise, like I was trying and I was failing because I know that's not my thing. So then I was just like, oh, I have my friend Nampum, she's helping me out with all these things. So like after this we're gonna be having a meeting and all that stuff that but then I think also a prayer that one of my friend we had in a group, that God, I pray that we as business owners, we function as if we have like a huge team behind us. So I pray that
Yeah.
also for you as well, that you function as if you have a huge team behind you, even if it's like 5 people, but behind the scenes, no one cares about behind the scenes. This is why we talk about these things, because no one cares about behind the scenes. They only want the finished products.
The
So I
finished
think,
product.
yeah. So I feel like with you, like I just hope that that everything you do, God multiplies, but then even in that multiplication, he uses the little that you have. Don't worry, God gonna bless you. He gonna bless you. Don't worry, receive it.
We're here to
Receive
receive.
it.
We're here to
Hold
receive.
it tight.
You understand?
Hold it tight. Hold it tight, because he will bless you. He
Oh,
will.
that's it's. I mean, we can even talk about us meeting as a testimony, because,
Yeah.
like I said, God does these things because we met obviously through Tendai,
Yeah.
and he actually approached me through social media, um, for Connect Southern Africa. So he's one of those people that are always looking for an opportunity. And when he saw the Connect SA page, I think it was on Instagram that he found us, and he reached out. Um, and then he reached out personally to me, and we just started talking. We always talk about business, and I'm always there to support him whenever he's
Mhm.
posting his stuff or he's asking for any advice. I consider him my mentee,
Mhm.
and he has actually been one of the most amazing people I've met, because speaking of silencing, I lost my phone. I was in Zim recently on a
Yeah.
business trip. I lost my phone there. And when that happened, the thing is, I was already overwhelmed with the amount of messages that were coming in on my phone. Like, I would always have like nearly 100 messages that I have not responded to
Yeah.
yet. And when that happened, as much as that was a big pain to lose that phone, and it's obviously it was an expensive phone for a digital marketer. You know, you need a phone that does everything for you.
Everything. Yeah.
So that was really sad for me. But at the same time, there was this peace that I had. It kind of messed up things with like prospective clients that were still in the pipeline of me trying to close those deals, but God replaced. But also I realized God was actually doing that himself because he wanted to, because I was in the business, and there was just no time for God. And he silenced me, and he silenced all the voices. And that was how I actually lost touch with him as well. But somehow he managed to find me again through social media, just like he found me the first time. And the main reason why he was doing that was just to introduce me to you.
Yeah.
And so, you know, that already for me means God is trying to take us somewhere. God is communicating with us. And it's just now about listening to him and going to where he wants us to go.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's exactly it. God is bringing people around. I would actually say God is bringing you and me around to work together, because part of my business speaks to what you do. And I already have clients that need services that you provide, podcasting and things like that. So there could be a potential meeting between you and me very soon to see how we could collaborate and make all of that happen as well.
Not me saying I didn't know what was going to happen in the next 3 weeks interview wise,
Have I
and
lost
there we
you?
go. You
Really?
guys are, he's moving, guys. God is moving in the midst of this conversation. You need to just keep your eyes out, Lord. Oh my gosh, that would be great. Like, I'll
You
definitely.
must understand. You must understand. Yeah.
No, but I'll definitely message you about that.
It'll be
And
nice. It'll be great. I
no,
think it'll
don't.
be an
I
amazing work
I think it
relationship as
would be
well.
because
So
like I'm
yeah.
starting to plan for next.
And I'm serious, eh?
Yeah, no, no, don't worry. After this, I'll message you. Like, I'll be like, okay, let's talk now. No, I have a meeting. No, wait, not after this. I have a meeting after this. When I'm done with that, I will message you and we will talk because I just finished planning my content for next year. What I want to do next year. I really want to go big. I don't know what I'm gonna do, where, if I'm gonna do it in Zoom or I don't know. We'll see. But I'll definitely message you and yeah, but I honestly feel like this is how we should end this conversation so that we can like just talk for a couple
It's
minutes.
digital now. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter where you are.
Yeah. So thank you so much for sharing your story. Thank you so much for like yeah, sharing what you've been through and I hope that it helps someone maybe going through the same situation or a different situation or just someone who needs to know that like God will provide. I think that's the message of this month. Like God will provide for us. Like guys, He really does. He's our Father. He loves us. He wants to see us succeed. He wants to see us happy, not stressed out or worried or not at peace. So if anyone is watching this and they have a business, they are running something. In the future, Shine
I'm
Your Light
losing
will
you.
help you. Shine Your Light will help you fund everything, in the future. Okay.
Remember, my website is www.ashleymupfawa.com.
Did you guys hear that? But thank you so much, Ashley. I'll make sure that in the YouTube channel, everything is linked in the description box below. And if you guys are interested in any of his services, please follow. Everything will be in the description box of this video. But thank you so much for doing this with me. I really appreciate you taking out the time. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to more life-changing conversations in the future.
Awesome. Great. Okay, have a good Friday, guys. Bye.
Bye.